I woke up as a marketer one day with questions in my head. I said I want to know my customers better, I need to do a survey instead. I staggered back to my office, the info on my sheet. I remembered analyzing the data from the survey in my seat. Tell me, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who? All right, ladies and gentlemen, a little who inspiration there. So today is part 2 of our series on surveys, and this is all about planning surveys. So make sure you get out your notes, you follow the STORM philosophy, and sit back and enjoy. So today we're going to take a look again at what is a survey and the purpose of surveys. This was again to refresh your knowledge and make sure that you are aware of what surveys are. Next, we're going to identify the steps that you need to take in terms of planning your survey, from objectives to identifying your target respondents, the mode of delivery, producing an introductory statement, identifying the length and the layout of your survey. So survey again is a set of carefully planned questions. We often call surveys questionnaires. There's an objective to these questions though. We're trying to answer a certain problem or identify a solution to a problem that we have as marketers. Again, think of this quote: proper planning prevents poor performance, the 5 Ps. So no matter what the purpose of the survey, results again are only reliable and valid if questions asked are prepared correctly and carefully. It's all about planning. Don't just rush into a survey. You need to sit down and really plan it out. So what steps do you need to take in terms of planning your survey? Well, there's pre-delivery and then there's delivery steps. All of these are conducted before you actually produce your survey, but some of them address what you need to identify before delivering your survey and what you would address while delivering your survey. So objectives, target respondents, and mode of delivery. This is all about the pre-delivery. The introductory statement, the length and layout, that's the actual delivery of the survey. What steps you take before actually handing out a survey will decide whether or not your survey will be successful or not successful. And so these next steps are very, very important. So the first step is identifying the objectives. You need to really understand what information you're trying to acquire. This is going to frame your objectives, what your purpose is for conducting the survey. This is what you need to clearly identify. There needs to be a reason for doing the research. Is it that you're trying to find out what consumers' preferences are? Are you trying to find out how they respond to competitors' action? Are you simply trying to find out who your target consumer is? So who the majority of your consumers are in terms of maybe income or culture? So all of these questions you need to ask yourself. What do you need to know, and how can the results be used? This is critical. By answering these questions, you'll be able to take this information and guide your marketing strategy. This purpose is what you will also use in your introductory statement, and this is what you need to convey to those respondents of your survey. Some examples: which service features do customers like the best, like the least? Which of our products do people with an average income over $100,000 purchase the most? These are some of the objectives that some marketers would try to achieve. The next one is identifying your target respondents. This is not necessarily your target market, however it often is. But these are your target respondents. Who are you looking to give your survey out to? You've identified your purpose. You've identified objectives. You're trying to gather information to achieve those objectives. So now you need to identify who is going to provide that information that will help you achieve those objectives. So who is most capable of providing the information? Who is most likely to respond? Here you need to be specific. Will you survey current customers, potential customers, industry experts? Who exactly will give you the information that you so desire? Maybe you're going to target females aged 35 to 50 who are not affluent but are Mississauga residents. Some of your characteristics that you'll use to target are very difficult to identify with a person just walking by on the street. So you'll need to be creative in terms of how you're going to target these people. If it's a simple geographic target, such as people who live in Mississauga, well, that's easy. You can go to Square One or anywhere in Mississauga and hand surveys out to those people. However, if it's a characteristic, a demographic that's less obvious, that's where you really need to get creative and distribute surveys in places where those people would frequent. Which brings us to the mode of delivery. You've identified your objectives. You've identified the target. So how are you going to distribute your survey? Many surveys are given online. This is the most frequent and now common way of distributing surveys. It's easy, it's cheap, it's effective. However, some surveys are conducted over the phone. Some are mailed. Some are conducted in person. maybe at the local mall. Each mode has various strengths and weaknesses, especially as it relates to time, cost, and resources. The questions that you ask also determine which delivery mode is best suited. If you want to ask a lot of open-ended questions and gather survey respondents' emotions, not just their responses, then I don't think the internet is necessarily going to be your best choice. So all of these ideas are what you need to take into account. Online survey creators like SurveyMonkey.com are very easy to use, free, and they compile the results quickly and efficiently for you. And this is something that we will be looking at in this class. So now that you've identified what you're trying to gather as far as information, who you're trying to gather it from, and how you're going to conduct the survey, the next part is actually to come up with the framework for the survey. And this is what we will talk about next. The introductory statement to your survey is very, very important. However, it is often overlooked. Many people just give a number of questions to people and ask them to fill it out. What you need to do is give them a context, give them some sort of idea as far as why they're answering those questions. As well, it's also very courteous to give them an introductory statement because you want to thank them for their time. You want to respect the fact that they're giving their time up to answer your questions. So surveys always should begin with an introductory statement. This statement includes the purpose of the survey. That's something that you identified previously. A confidentiality statement, such as that we will not use this information for any other purpose. The length of time it will take, so you're trying to give them an idea as how long it will take. And thanking respondents for their time. An example of an introductory statement is stated below. So you've identified your introductory statement. Now it's about how long you are going to make your survey. Respondents are not going to give you that much time, and many of them will simply answer a number of questions, a couple of questions, and give it back to you. They don't want to be taking up too much of their day in answering your questions, so you need to keep it short. You need to be considerate of their time. If you're going to hand out your survey on paper, your survey should be no longer than 2 pages front and back, and even then it's pushing it as far as the length. If it's online, it should not take them more than 5 to 10 minutes to complete. Anything above this time, respondents will be fearful of answering those questions or will not engage in answering those questions. The next part of your framework is the layout of your survey. It is very important to group questions together. So questions that are talking about the product, they should be together. Questions that are talking about consumer preferences, those should go together. Questions that are talking about price or promotions or demographics, all of those need to go together. If the consumer has to jump from one topic to another, they will get confused, they will get annoyed, and they'll be frustrated, and that's not what you want. So group questions according to topic and response type. The other part to this is that you want broad general questions first and narrow it down from there into very specific type of questions. It's the idea that you want to get respondents to think in general terms and then gradually direct them to think in more specific terms. Make sure that the order of questions makes sense to them. You start with the most relevant or interesting questions and you work your way down to mundane demographic questions. Demographic questions need to come at the end of your survey. Most people will put these first. That is completely incorrect. They need to go at the end of your survey. Also, numbering the questions will make it easier for people to follow. If it jumps from 1 through till 7, people are going to wonder what happened to the questions in between. Number it makes it easier. And try to keep the layout as simple as possible. Use the KISS formula for your survey. Keep it simple, silly. Okay, that brings us to our end of part 2. So, a few questions. Why again do we leave demographic questions until the end? I know I said they're mundane, but there's more reason to this, so I want you to think about that. As well, what are the benefits of online surveys? Think about how much time you take online now. What are some of the benefits of creating a survey and conduct it online? So make sure your notes are in order. Make sure you have summarized your notes. Make sure you have asked yourself a discussion question. And we shall see you tomorrow.